at the end of the day, the preservation aspect of what we do and the form that these people sign when they're talking about replacing their windows very clearly states that, preference should be given to retaining their existing windows and putting in storm windows.
Unfortunately, by the time they get here, they're sold on a replacement window for the efficiencies they offer.
Of course, vinyl siding offers efficiency. People who claim and they can insulate their house and put up vinyl siding. So it's a slippery slope.
Right. We talk about the vinyl windows and still don't really have a handle on what vinyl windows are out there that have the grid, how much do they cost, what is the comparison. I just think it's important that if that information is out there that we can present it to people and hand out or whatever. Here, these are things that, I know that's what we're trying to get to here, but these are the things that would be acceptable. We understand you want new windows, we prefer you go through these options for looking at storms first. If that doesn't work, then these are the next options.
Because people come in saying, oh my gosh, I can't pay my heating bills, I need to have vinyl windows. It's like, I feel sympathetic.
I mean, I think you have to prove some level of deterioration before allowing. I don't think we should be allowing wholesale replacement of wood windows with vinyl windows if the wood windows are good, relatively good condition.
I also think that the vinyl window companies are taking advantage of us now. Absolutely. Because they're coming in and selling people on these vinyl windows. And like it or not, we have, the historic districts are older houses with people who do have some money. And so I think they're targeting the historic districts now specifically for vinyl windows, and that's a problem.
I have a problem with telling someone you can't replace your windows. I guess that's
we tell them
they can't build non-sympathetic additions.
No, but there's another way that they can do it. There's a proper way of doing an addition. There's a proper way of changing something. If someone comes to us and says, I want to put in new windows.
Well, if you depends on the line
you're going to be able to tell them that they can't put in new windows in their house. Like, I guess I just find an issue with that. Like, there has to be an option. If you want to replace your windows, as a private owner of your house, well, I'm not saying they should or that it's a good reason, but it's their house. And if they want to replace windows, there's got to be enough.
I think if the replacement window simulates the original well enough, and that's the issue to me. Are the replacement windows a close enough simulation to the original? If so, then I don't have a problem with it. Now, I don't disagree that maybe we should first look at the windows and determine the level of deterioration. We're going to have to come to some consensus here. We've been dragging this discussion or this decision out way too long, and we've got people coming to us who want.
We've got to give them clear information.
We need to write a policy that's,
Actually, they need clear information before they get here. I mean, it's a waste of everyone's time.
And if our position is no vinyl windows, fine, publish that if everybody's comfortable with that. If our position is you have to replace a wood window in a significant structure with a light wood window, I'm fine. I just want some clear guidance for these people so they know what to expect when they come here.
You said that you didn't think that it was right to tell somebody that they couldn't replace their windows. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, we were just getting some clarification.
Right, and I understand where you were coming from, but Mr. Hawley and some of the others were like, well, no, we didn't say that. We would say no, you can't replace your windows. But several times, and just in closing here, he said we need to decide if it's deteriorated enough to warrant replacement of a window. So what does that mean?
In most historic districts throughout the country, you cannot install vinyl windows, period. You have to do a wood window. And the cost, you can
It's irrelevant to you.
Correct. That's exactly it.
Right, right.
Is irrelevant, because you're preserving the original character of the house.
Well, like
when you
Ms.
do,
Seabold said, how long do we go on with that? Because cost is going to be prohibitive at some point in time here. We don't have the craftsmen that we used to have.
that's
And I know that's what you're trying to preserve.
Those are issues.
but-
Those are issues in preservation. But right now, the federal government, the way they give money, in fact, we have cases already where if the federal government is funding something, they do not allow vinyl windows.
Okay.
And so it doesn't matter if you economically cannot afford to
If
have
the government is
custom-made
giving you
windows.
money,
Well, I
you
did.
follow
They're funding
their
it,
rules.
yeah.
But is that the case for every homeowner in a historical
In
district?
historic district, they're using their own money to
Right,
do it.
they're not being
Okay,
funded.
so they're not being done by the federal government. Well, we go by the federal government standards. However, we have varied those standards now to allow vinyl windows. But we're saying we need to look at them more specifically because vinyl covers a huge territory.
Sure, I
And
understand.
you need to be a little bit more specific and a little bit more closely
You brought up
applied.
the point is, are you at some point telling people that they can't replace windows?
No, I don't think we're saying that.
Because you said several times that are we going to determine if there's deterioration that warrants replacement? So how are you going to decide what's bad enough to tell somebody, well, I don't think your windows are that bad, you can't replace your windows? Is that?
You know, I think basically our discussion today said we have to look at those situations on a
Okay,
case-by-case basis.
okay.
We're not going to carte blanche say,
Right, but at some point you might say your windows aren't bad enough to replace.
that's correct.
But
So
what-
you would be saying, no, you can't replace
In
your
some
windows.
instances where an individual just wants to replace a window in a significant structure, we may say, no, that's not reasonable to do. Because we
Okay,
wanna
but
make
that's
sure
money.
that you've looked at all the options, like storm windows, you know, that's in keeping with the historic.
Okay.
Which would be cheaper than
Is that
replacing
is that more or less costly? than-
Oh, way less.
Much-
My question is, what
Half or
are going to be the standards by which deterioration?
Well, that's,
Yeah, that's.
Because one guy's going to have to say, well, his was quarter-inch deteriorated, mine was a half-inch, but
We've
he's...
seen people
When
come
you
Or
in.
see
whatever.
stuff, it kind of answers its own question.
Okay.
When you see it, because we've done this for years and years with slate roofs, where, you have to demonstrate that there's enough deterioration. If it's a small area that can easily be repaired, just that area, then, we ask you to just repair that area with like kind. But, and we ask for actually in that instance, we ask for expert testimony from like a roofing repair company who will let us know, okay, it's not feasible to repair because the underlayment is shot. You have to take it all off, and once you take your slate off, it just crumbles.
Right.
You can't put it back on. So, we rely on expert testimony, and sometimes it's really clear. A lot of times for certain things we use a percentage, like for siding. What percentage of the siding is deteriorated? If you can do small patchwork, because there's only areas that are deteriorated, and the 75% or more is still in good shape, then no, we want you to patch the 25% that's bad instead of residing the entire thing with a new product.
Right.
So it's less nebulous than it may seem when
Okay.
you're talking about it. When you actually see it, it's kind of clear that, and it's common sense.
and I think we're trying to get to a point where it's more clear as far as what options are and what, okay, we're getting to this point, instead of filing paperwork and having to come in to see us, what can we give them that's more
Right.
user-friendly?
You mentioned having some sort of printout or something to give people that has some kind of guidelines before they come to you.
And I feel that, in talking to people, that's kind of the most frustrating thing. They think they're doing the right thing, they're trying to come in and do stuff, whereas if they just had this information ahead of time to go off of, then they would know those are the options.